After 10 years since the original fan translation and several years since the official Steam translation, we finally have an English translation of the Fandisc of Hoshizora no Memoria called Eternal Heart. And not just that, we have the HD version, which makes the resolution completely full screen HD, and it even comes with some remixed soundtracks of the original themes. In this video, I'm going to be doing a mini review of Hoshizora no Memoria Eternal Heart HD. Now the first question you'd be asking is, why a mini review? Well, these days, I've been a little bit more picky about how many routes I read in a visual novel, more so in a slice of life romance visual novel, especially more so in a Fandisc where the routes are technically optional. And in the original Hoshizora no Memoria, Asaho and Yume were easily my favorite two girls, and the other girls ranged from okay to pretty bad to me. So I'm just going to base my review on those two. So one thing that's pretty interesting about Hoshizora no Memoria Eternal Heart is that while there are after stories for all of the main heroines of the original, you can originally only choose between Yume and Mei's after story. And once you read at least one of those, then the rest of the original heroines get their after stories. However, I didn't want to start the game off with just Yume, so I used a 100% save to read Asaho's first, who I'll talk about first as well. So you may notice in the route selection screen that there's for the non-Yume and Mei after stories, they're called short stories, and boy, are they short. I read Asaho's, and even on auto read and maybe lightly skipping the only H scene, it took me like 30 minutes to read the whole route. That said, it was still pretty wholesome. I mean, if you liked the romance of the original Hoshizora no Memoria, I assume the wholesomeness would continue from the original. However, I realized when I read Asaho's route that I realized I disliked a lot more of Hoshizora no Memoria's humor than I thought. It kind of reminded me of Ubisoft humor where they like to overly cheese the main character for being a pervert even when he didn't do anything. But anyways, going into Yume's route. While I prefer Asaho slightly more personality-wise, I can't deny Yume's route both in the original and in Eternal Heart is much better. Unlike Asaho and likely the other 5 heroines, they only get like 30-minute routes at most. However, Yume, and I would assume Mei as well, definitely get at least 5 hours, basically full-length route screen time. In the original route for Yume and Hoshizora no Memoria, for some reason, there's this big time skip, like after a certain climax part of Yume's route. I kinda got why they did it since the original route was decently long as is, but it didn't really give a lot of romance time between the protagonists Yo and Yume. Thankfully, this Fandisc basically provided just that for me. Not only did it cover more of the sweet slice-of-life moege stuff that I'd like to see in romance stories, but also continued to have some of the pretty well-done melodrama as Hoshizora no Memoria tends to do. Without getting into too many spoilers, you get to see stuff around Mei, even in Yume's route, and even Yo's father, who I don't even remember having much of a role in the original Hoshizora no Memoria at all, let alone referenced. So it was cool to kind of see both the romance side and some of the melodrama side continue in Yume's route, so I definitely quite liked Yume's route. Yeah, and that's just about it for this review. I mean, just based on those two routes, I gather if you read the routes that you liked from the original, you'll most likely like the routes in the Fandisc. I think Mei in particular got the short end of the stick in the original Hoshizora no Memoria when her route was like maybe 30 to 60 minutes tops. I would assume her route is also 5 hours long, but to be honest, I don't really like Mei much as a character or a romantic love interest, so I didn't bother reading her route. But I assume if anyone were to read her route, they'd probably really like it. And similarly, if you liked Komomo, Kosame, Isuzu, or Chinami, you'll likely like the Eternal Heart routes as well.